Making a character in HarnMaster Kethira doesn't have to take a whole hour. Only if you like to hear yourself talk and crack wise like yours truly. And, to be fair, to explain stuff along the way. Here, we're just going to make a character for real, allowing for as minimal talking as I can stand. It's going to be tough. I'm going to generate randomly and then modify as my heart desires. So let's just jump right into it. Part 1. Birth. I still like to start at the birth section. I roll a total of 3D100s, 1D12, 1D30, and 1D1000, and I get these results. These tell me my character is human, mature, born under the Tai sun sign, and is from Hashardad in the Marshum Principality. And as a Taian, he's going to be curious, eager to learn, and just as eager to share his knowledge. Yes, I'm making this one a dude. Part 2. Family. To learn about how we grew up, I note that Hashardad is imperial and has the Hasharian pantheon. For the rest, I roll a total of 1D20 and 3D100s. I see that his parents were freemen, farmers in a rural setting, and that he is considered an outcast of the family. Dang, looking like a rough life already. Part 3. Attributes. I roll 4d6, drop the lowest for physical, because he's mature, and the same for mental, because that's what you do. And I also do a 4d6, drop the lowest for voice. These are pretty great rolls. With this, I'm thinking I want to make a priest, and with attributes like these, I'm going to make a character I've thought about for a long time. You'll see. I'd like this to be a Paeonian, or whatever the Paeonian analog is in Hashardad. Part 4. Traits. Coming back to traits, I roll a d6, 4d6 choose 3, because that's how I personally do morality, and 4 d20s. 3 d20s, plus 1 extra for psyche traits because the character's mature. And just a note, I am doing these in order. The first d20 is for Arcane Talents, the second is for Grace, and the third and fourth are for psyche traits. Okay. I know that looks like BS, but that's really what I rolled, which works out great for us, both for the character and for the demo. He's truthful and principled. A regular old Dr. Do-Good here. That 20 for talents means I get 5d20 rolls on the talents table. This gives me 3 results of Elemental Bolt and 1 each of Clairvoyance and Disembodiment. Already thinking of ideas for this. Sit tight. Let's see if they come together. I also add 2 to Spirit at this point while I'm here. He starts with 2 Grace. That's awesome. And he just barely has no psyche traits. Whew. Part 5. Occupation. Looking up in the Pantheon section about Hashardad, I see there is a Paeonian analog named Elbana, the Angel of Harvest and Mercy. That's where we're going with this guy, a priest of Elbana. Now, the Hasharian pantheon is a bit different, which is why it gets its own special mention. There's an overview of this on page 136 in the VIII publication, and the pantheon details are in the HMK book. The advice and options download from Celestia.com can provide some additional insight on how to approach this pantheon, but for now, I'm just going to flesh this guy out as the standard Eon aspect, unless a GM tells me otherwise, okay? Speaking of this guy, I'm going with a Middle Eastern Persian type of name. I'm going with Bagabuksha. Part 6. Appearance. Let's find out what he looks like. I roll 5d100s and then 3d6 for weight variation. He's dark-skinned. We'd probably call him some shade of brown, with brown hair and brown eyes. He's 74 inches tall, 6'2", and weighs in at 193 pounds. And he's right-handed. We have a little sketch to give me an idea of what he looks like so far. Part 7. Skills. Now we start assigning his skills. After assigning development points for Arcane Talent, Family, Background, Occupational, optional, veteran, and sun sign skills, here's how we end up. I have a physically intimidating, but reasonable and spiritual person. He has arcane talents that I'm going to say he misinterprets as gifts from his angel. Socially, he is capable of being charming, but he's quite skilled in reasoned discourse. With respect to lore, he is a very good cook and physician, and he's very talented in his religion. Other than having a respectable sense of awareness, he doesn't seem very interested in most physical activities. With nature skills, he's okay with animals, knowledgeable on agricultural matters, and is very good in herb lore, able to reliably find herbs and make concoctions. Let's just say he ain't no craftsman. At all. I mean, he's still drawing stick figures. But strangely enough, he's very good in melee combat. Unexpectedly so for his profession. More on that later. Part 8. Standing. I roll 2d2 dice based on him being an outcast and his parents being farmers, plus an extra die and drop the lowest. I also roll 2d6 dice because he's mature and is a Circle 3 priest, based on ritual mastery level, plus an extra die and drop the lowest. This gives him a wealth of 10, indicating he's used to a comfortable lifestyle, and has equipment and possessions to start of up to 1,000 coins in value. He will also have 100 coins in hard currency afterwards, to spend or keep as he likes. Part 9. Fate and Piety. With 18 aura, his fate roll is 70, and he starts with 5 fate points. Having read about the Paeonian Church, and having a starting ritual ML of 65, I get to automatically start as a mendicant. We assume I passed the Raslava Kai Paladauer ordeal, but I still need to roll to see what the outcome is. It's a ritual success value test with a creativity secondary roll. With an SV7, I'm really making a holy roller here. His ordeal resulted in a great trial, meaning I roll 3d20 to see if I get any additional grace. And I pick up 2 more grace. That's 4 grace I get to spend on miracles. Now, when it comes to piety, he gets circle plus 1. That's 4. And then I have a ritual index plus 1 in a starting blessing bonus. That's plus 7. And I apply that to circle plus 1 doctrines, or 4 doctrines. With access to both low and high doctrines, I choose physician, herb lore, physical recovery, and agriculture. Before I wrap up this area, I want to note his 3rd circle by his occupation. Remember, we obtained that from his ritual ML. Part 10. Equipment. Frankly, this is always the most time-consuming part for me, because I get into this. Thankfully, as a quick demo, I'm not going to get into the details. Just know these. I write down all the weights so I can easily calculate encumbrance. I've already done encumbrance modifications for items in the backpack. And I made a custom outfit. Now, it's not tailor-made, just that it's not a pre-configured outfit in the book. For clothing and armor, because I envisioned this guy as an unarmed fighter, preferring to wound then heal opponents, and being opposed to killing. And also because I have a story already evolving regarding his childhood and his outcast status. He mostly wears practical pilgrim gear, but he's added vambraces and leather gloves. I'm imagining this guy getting into hand-to-hand only when necessary. I'm giving him a staff for journeying as well as defense. But even with that staff, I still see him as someone, although capable in defense, not willing to kill unless necessary. I see him as a grappler who gets in close. After I fill all of this in, he still has some extra spending money left over, but honestly, I don't know what else to buy. So I forfeit the remainder, and he has 100 coins in his belt pouch. Not a bad amount for a wandering mendicant, I'd say. Part 11. Finalization. With equipment bought and skills set, I just fill in the rest of the sheet. I calculate the healing base, encumbrance penalties, and fatigue info. I fill out the movement rates, skill references, and armor values where necessary. And then we come to the final part. Part 12, Background. Technically, we're done here. We have a perfectly playable character. But I like to flesh out the background. It'll help me with his backstory, and I loves me some backstory. After a bunch of roles that lead to more roles, here's what I ended up with, and I already added my own touches parenthetically. Bhagabuksha is the eldest child of 3, with one middle sister who's still alive, and the youngest sister is deceased. Turns out he has an unmarried romantic relationship. This gets a little complicated, because I think Paeonians, not sure about Albanans, I think Paeonians take vows of chastity, but we can make this work. He has 2 rivals. One is a professional colleague, and the other is a person in another occupation. Seems he's popular among his colleagues, more welcome here than at home. Lastly, his travel extent comes up as near, meaning he has traveled within 25 leagues of home. So, with all of that, and in conclusion, let's assemble that backstory and learn who it is that I just made. So here's a quick summary of noteworthy items. Bhagabuksha was raised on a farm with 2 younger sisters. Born under the Tie sign, he's innately intellectually curious, which as a youth left him distracted and often running around doing things he ought not to be doing. He was a rambunctious and disobedient youth. One day, he caught a deadly snake and wanted to show it to his little sister Parmita. The snake, unfortunately, bit her, and she died horribly from the poison. The death of his sister began the long road of decay in his relationship with his parents, both of whom blame him for her death to this day. The guilt and grief, combined with the decaying relationship with the parents, provided excuses for rowdy behavior in early adolescence. He would get into frequent fistfights, first out of anger from the smallest of slights, and then later, just for fun, because it upset his parents. In his mid-teens, he began engaging in inappropriate relations with a neighboring farm girl, Sandauka. Once discovered, the shame brought upon his family finally resulted in his expulsion from home. Bhagabuksha's early months of vagrancy were characterized by begging, petty theft, and the occasional violent assault outside taverns. Eventually, he caused such distress and property damage from brawling that he earned the still-present hostility of a somewhat well-known tavern keeper, Uvakstra. When his budding arcane talents manifested in his youth, he didn't know he was any different from anybody else, but as he came to better understand and control them, he attributed these as gifts from an angel, and began to believe he had been ignoring some sort of divine hints or guidance. While homeless, he picked up skills in herb lore, cooking, and discourse, and as he approached adulthood, he began to use his linguistic skills to negotiate odd jobs and exchanges of favors to make ends meet. He began to channel his love of brawling into more civilized challenges of sport for money, cheap alley fights that ended in no hard feelings, generally. All the while, he maintained a blossoming, romantic, but physically tempered relationship with Sandauka, who was taking an interest in the Albana church. With nowhere to go, shouldering family shame and guilt, having found no peace, but still feeling a pull towards the divine, Bhagabuksha decided to try and join the Albana church himself, enlisting before his dearest Sandauka. He was welcomed in, showed great talent, and began to acquire recognition. He immediately felt peace and satisfaction upon joining, as if he finally found his true calling. He became an astute student of physician skills and took up brewing as his herb lore continued to improve, providing for the simple pleasures of life that bring happiness and joy to others. Today, Sandauka, now an acolyte, continues to be his closest friend, although their physical intimacies are at a definite end. They keep frequent, appropriate company, or at least when possible, given his mendicant duties. This friendship has earned the enmity of one of his colleagues, Herbad, a temple Ebasethé. Herbad is quite fond of Sandalka, and he is overcome with jealousy towards Bagabuksha. He also knows of his past regarding brawling and tries to leverage it against him, attempting to sow seeds of distrust among the elders in the church. Thus far, it has not succeeded and actually seems to be backfiring, a result that is sure to infuriate the Ebasethé further.